September 17, 1984 was a changing point of my life. Being that I lived a promiscuous lifestyle, I lost my virginity at a very young age, and I was 14 years old, and I was pregnant. I was 5 months, and I ended that pregnancy, and I had to go through the full birth of having a baby and not being able to see her. My name is Jeannie, and this is my Easter story. When people say sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you, that's not true. Words hurt. It can damage your self-esteem, your self-image. You can try to suppress it and try not to think about it, but it does play over and over in your head. And soon you just begin to live out what people have spoken over you. I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood. Both my parents worked. They gave us materialistic things. Everything was provided for us. The one thing that was lacking as I was growing up was love. I never heard, or I seldom heard, those words, "I love you." Affection was never shown in my home. I remember growing up that my mom would say to me that I was stupid, that I was an accident, I was never going to amount to anything. She would always compare me to my sister, and she would say, why can't you be more like her? She was a good student, always got good grades. She was good in everything that she did. And for me, I had bad grades. At the time, I didn't know I had a learning disability, and so I just took on, and I just started thinking that I was just stupid and ugly and unwanted, unloved, which really tore me up. And I wanted so desperately to be loved, so I would do things, to try to get attention. I soon found myself living a promiscuous lifestyle, and September 17, 1984 was a changing point of my life. I aborted. I was so young, and I was trying to find that love, and I thought that was it, but at the same time I knew it was wrong, being that I was only a kid myself and in 8th grade. So after having gone through that, I got pregnant at the age of 16 and had my daughter, and I was hoping that that was going to fill that void in my life, that unconditional love that I really wanted. And when I had her, I quickly found myself saying those same things that were spoken to me into her, and seeing the emotional distress that I put upon her, which was upon me. I didn't know what was going on in my life. I didn't know how to handle relationships. I was very depressed, and I felt rejected and alone. I could be in a room full of people, but I still felt alone, and I ended up pregnant again and had my second daughter. And life was good after my second child, but that void that was in my life of feeling alone and hopeless and depressed, that all came back like a flood. It never left me. I suppressed it. I suppressed everything that was spoken over my life. I remember seeking counseling at a young age, and going over these emotions of, of everything that had been spoken over me by my parents, and but it didn't help me. Nothing was helping me. I started to experiment with drugs and alcohol, and nothing was taking that pain away, that pain, that wrenching pain that was still there. It was every day. I remember sabotaging relationships. I couldn't keep a friendship for nothing. I couldn't keep anything. I was so negative. I was such a hateful person. I never saw anything good in anyone. I didn't know how to love. I didn't know how to even say I love you. I had to work through the hurt. Those emotions had to come up in order for me to be healed. And it wasn't until after Kylie, which is my youngest, being that she was maybe 7, 8 years old, that I started to go through that emotional healing. And it was actually here at this church that I began to allow God to bring up things to the surface and cry through it. So many times I wanted to run away. I didn't want to face it. I didn't want to face the fact of having the abortion and having to go through that, relive that all over again. I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to relive my childhood memories with my mom or with my dad. My dad was an alcoholic. I remember hearing him throwing up all the time. He was always at the bar, I didn't want to relive all that, but I knew I had to in order to be free. After going through that after going through the healing, I had to learn to say I love you. And I first had to love myself, and because I hated myself, I hated the person who I was, who I became. And then I began to say it to my children, and I began to say it more and more, and holding them and telling them that I love them and really meaning it. Our relationship now that my children are older, and our relationships are very close now. I have 3 grown children, and they're all married, and they have children of their own, and I get to see them embrace their children in a loving manner and telling them that they love them. And because of the healing that Jesus took me through, that curse was broken over my family. And now they can embrace their children and their children's children, and the love is going to grow strong. My name is Jeannie, and Jesus changed my life.